Hi, this is Dr. Sana Hashmi. Last week, my Prince High on China column was on the Chinese views on Taiwan's President Lai Ching-te's inaugural speech and the subsequent two-day military exercise surrounding Taiwan, which was codenamed Joint Sword-2024A. So the trigger as per China for this joint exercise was Lai calling the Republic of China, Taiwan, as a sovereign and independent nation. Uh, but it's very important to highlight that, however, Lai's characterization of Taiwan as an independent nation was very much there in his speech, but it was not something that was not said by his predecessors. And also, it's interesting to note that Beijing waited for his inauguration to conduct a military exercise and did not do it just after the election that happened in January 2024. So this also shows that China was looking for an excuse to restart its military intimidation and for the military exercise. And also it's being selective in terms of choosing and focusing on what Lai says in his speech and his statements after he assumed his responsibility as the president of Taiwan. Then Beijing also decided to focus on just one aspect of his speech and also chose to ignore Lai's consistent calls for dialogue with China. But then this has also triggered a lot of discussion on Chinese social media and also among analysts in China. Of course, Taiwan has always been a very, very sensitive, controversial issue to discuss within China and on Chinese social media websites. But then when it comes to Taiwan, be it state-owned media or most scholars in Taiwan, they have always told the government line on Taiwan and their Taiwan policy. And most of the discourse is about shifting the blame on Lai Ching-te and attributing the exercise on Lai's speech. And even Chinese Ministry of Foreign Affairs spokesperson have been using a violent and belligerent language while referring to Taiwan and for Taiwanese leadership. Then some Chinese scholars even call Lai's speech as a declaration of war and steps towards declaring formal independence. And this is something that we have been hearing from the Chinese scholars for a very, very long time. Whatever any DPP leader or Taiwan president talks about Taiwan, they just attribute it to their intention of declaring formal independence of Taiwan, which is absolutely not true. So the main discourse coming out of China on Lai's speech and his presidency is that Lai is a separatist and a troublemaker. And this is something that these terms we have been noticing and hearing from the Chinese leadership on Chinese social media for a very, very long time. Then the discourse and social media posts on Chinese microblogging sites and even TikTok have been aimed to influence Taiwanese. The people of Taiwan, and the cognitive warfare along with the military intimidation is now reaching its peak when it's come to Taiwan. But here, what is more important to highlight that by doing this, China has been attempting to establish a new norm. And there is no doubt that it is China that is unilaterally changing the status quo in the Taiwan Strait. Then Chinese leadership also used Lai's speech as a pretext to justify its military intimidation and economic version of Taiwan. And in this context, it's very important to emphasize that no number of assurances from either Lai or the United States is going to work when it comes to restoring cross-strait peace. Here, the onus lies on China, and the cross-strait peace depends only on China and the intention of Xi Jinping and the Chinese top-level leadership. But also, while this stance from China's side may not necessarily imply or tells us that the invasion of Taiwan by China is imminent, but then it undeniably escalates geopolitical tensions in the Indo-Pacific region. And it also suggests that if from Chinese perspective, from Chinese side, if Taiwan does not remain isolated and other countries do not stop engaging with Taiwan, then invasion becomes a plausible option or scenario. And this is an illusion that Chinese side is trying to kind of create with respect to Taiwan and its external engagement, specifically with the Western countries. But I do believe that the invasion is not imminent. This is just an illusion that China has been trying to create. And although the likelihood of continued military intimidation of Taiwan by China remains high. It's also crucial to highlight that Lai's speech did not really significantly deviate from the past precedent and constitute a deliberate provocation. I do not think that he said anything that was provocative or anything that enabled China to start initiate the military exercise. Then Beijing, I feel that this entire situation is primarily because that Beijing is unwilling to engage with Lai or even the ruling party. And we have been seeing this since at least 2016, since Tsai Ing-wen, the former president of Taiwan, refused to accept the 1992 consensus. So China has not been really engaging with the DPP leadership and the DPP president of Taiwan. And this is also because, and specifically if we just talk about Lai's presidency, Chinese leadership has these preconceived notions about Lai and his pro-Taiwan stances that Beijing refuses to accept. And I feel that this is something that cannot be changed, and this is something that is also going to obstruct any effort from Taiwan's side or even Taiwan's call for pre-initiating dialogue with China. So I do not really see any prospect of restoring peace and reviving dialogue, the cross-strait dialogue. And I think the owner's responsibility is totally on Chinese side. Thank you.